one of the things that we wanted to do, and what Andrea just put up on the screen, is that there's an initiative that's going on, started by the African American Pastors Council, in partnership with Centara, Star Hill Health, and some other organizations, the Virginia Department of Health, and other organizations, to make sure that we are getting more Black and brown people vaccinated. So this is a flyer that's showing. Actually, we'll actually put a link to the actual Google Doc in the chat as well. Please copy, paste, share it with your networks, but we want to get as many Black and brown people vaccinated as possible in this community, because that's what sets the stage for us really getting back to some semblance, some level of not normalcy, but some solid ground for certainty in our business community, making plans and really building on what's what so many people in this community is working on getting us back to a place where we can all start to prepare to thrive, as opposed to just survive. Another important component is, and by the way, please, during this conversation, if you have any questions of anything that we mentioned, please post it in the chat box, and we'll make sure that we'll answer that question, or get it addressed within this discussion. Another important item for our business community we wanted to share is that the last week they made a House amendment on the federal level for the extension of the PPP Act. And so that extension actually extends the deadline from March 31st, which is the end of this month, to June the 30th. So there's been some good stories and some bad stories, some victories and some challenges as far as applying for PPP with the new guidelines that came out this year, where people that were sole proprietors, independent contractors, and people in those categories were able to apply. But when they first put the information out there, there was a small window of time. It was a 2-week window for applications. Within that time, there were some challenges, and I hope that people that sign on today will be able to share some of their experiences. But it became pretty challenging for some people. So there's been an extension. That's another important component of information that really needs to get out to the minority business community, as well as the entire business community. So we just wanted to share that update as well. We'll have some more updates on some things, on some future items, but we wanted to open the discussion right now for just a inclusive discussion amongst the attendees. Answer questions anyone pose. What has been their experience with PPP funding, or if there any other information that needs to be shared, please share now. We're live on Facebook, we're recording, but this is the opportunity to share information to enrich our community and set the stage for progress. So is there anything that we should be covering right now, Alex, based on what you're seeing in the chat? And if not, any questions you'd like to pose to the group?
Nothing in the chat so far. I am monitoring, so if you have any, I know Daniela wants to let us know, so no questions, but Daniela's letting us know that there are several organizations, including the Bridge Line, help that are setting up vaccination clinics specifically for people with disabilities. So that's good to know, and be sure to share that with people you know who have disabilities and who are interested in getting the vaccine.
I did have a question I put in a chat, and I wanted to know if we have the demographic breakdown of those who have already gotten the vaccine.
No, I haven't seen any. That's Lisa Herndon.
Mhm.
How you doing today? Good to see you. But
Fine.
yeah, that's one of the things that I have not yet seen yet. Different demographic. I've been asking about that since the beginning of 2020.
I think that's valuable information to see
Mhm.
who is actually getting the shots for us to see where we need to help or where there is a discrepancy in who is actually getting the privilege to get or having the opportunity to receive the shot.
Yep, good. That's good insight.
Uh,
I think I'm sorry. I'll just shoot this one thing out and I'll shut up. I think that's what actually prompted the Centara and Miss Jackie Martin over at Centara and the partnership with the African American Pastors Council, because the numbers, I believe the Virginia Department of Health may have had some demographic data, and the numbers were paltry in terms of Black and brown people. So I think that's what that initiative actually emerged from.
I was just going to say to build on that, Quentin, that in talking with Miss Jackie over the weekend when they were doing the second dose for those that had gotten it a month ago, at this point in time, I think she mentioned that there's been roughly around 1,500 folks just through this particular push that they've been able to get vaccinated, Black and brown. I know Southwood will have its own special drive that's happening. I
Mhm.
believe the folks from Habitat may have helped to coordinate that, to get that set up out there. But they're still continuing to push to get those numbers higher. But I will say this, and having gone through, Quentin went to the Jefferson School. I went out to the Kmart through this same particular program, because it is a lottery system. So it's not just a matter that you sign up and you automatically get in. They do kind of do it on a lottery system, but it was definitely super well organized at the Jefferson School. Not trying to throw any shade at Kmart, but it was not to the level of execution that happened at the Jefferson School. Quentin was in and out, and I think I had to wait both times a couple hours out at Kmart. So definitely, it's not something that's going to take a long period of time, and they've been extremely intentional. It's been great to see.
Thank you,
I
Yolanda.
posed that question because nationally, Virginia has been noted as having one of the worst rollouts of the vaccine. So I wanted to know how we were doing demographically.
And I actually, Lisa, I have that information here for you. It's on the Virginia.gov. They just give you vaccination rate per 100,000 population by race and ethnicity. So the highest is Native American at 21,000 per 100,000, then white Americans 16,000, and then far behind African American 10,000 per 100,000 vaccinated, and Latino 9,400 per 100,000 vaccinated. The only demographic lower is Asian or Pacific Islander. So yeah, definitely some ways to go there.
Yeah. And I will say that in talking with members of other communities, Black members of other cities within Virginia, what they all have said is that what we are doing in terms of having intentional drives, that's not happening in some of their communities. Now, some of them are able to get like for a particular neighborhood, but in terms of just saying, we're going to have a specific drive just for Black and brown people, that's something that is not happening. So, definitely kudos to the Pastors Council for pushing this initiative along.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just made sure Alex already shared the flyer, but I just wanted to be even more redundant and share the link to the actual Google Doc. And I just encourage you all to share with your networks. This is a streamlined way to help get people vaccinated, get more people vaccinated in this community. Thank you for that great question. And I don't know if there are any other questions regarding that, but the question I wanted to delve into thereafter is just around the Paycheck Protection Program. There's been updates. There's been a couple of iterations since the new update. And I think that's very important information for people to discuss, share updates. I know with I've had a situation with helping a local entrepreneur and applying for the new PPP with the new accommodations, and they banked with Bank of America, and it was quite challenging, even just getting signed into their portal for this particular entrepreneur. So my situation with helping this particular business, I walked away feeling like the big guys don't take care of the little guys when it comes to certain efforts in financing. Bigger banks take care of their bigger clientele, and so this seemed to me like an example of the opposite for the small guy. We finally, after sitting on the phone for about an hour and a half, got through to someone because they couldn't. The website wasn't recognizing his account that he has with the bank as a business account, but he's a business in his name. But eventually, he finally got through. But I don't think even, and that was 2 weeks ago. I still don't think they've gotten any response back. So just wanted to open up the floor for any other insights on the challenges, what has been the lessons learned from applying for PPP with this new information, important information that is being extended to June the 30th. However, SBA is not accepting applications after June 1st. Very important component. Deadline June 30th, but they're not accepting applications after June 1st. So the floor is open.
Yeah, Quinn, I have something I want to say about that. I can mirror the experience you're talking about. My wife's employer out of New York City had the same experience with Bank of America. It's just a matter of trying to get too big and fancy with it. And the rules are so convoluted and fast changing. You need people working on both sides of the application, not a web form. I've heard great things about what's happening at United Bank. I know for a fact that they are accepting clients from other banks that have never had a banking relationship with them to get them through the PPP process. And they've got people that are working into their evenings as late as midnight, trying to push these things through to make sure everyone gets taken care of. They believe in this community and they'll help anybody that walks in that door. So I know United is great, and I saw in the chat that Andrea had similar comments about Blue Ridge Bank.
Thank you for sharing. Excuse me. Thanks for sharing, Don.
I will just say just a couple things around the PPP program that I think definitely need to be highlighted. One of the things that a lot of independent contractors, sole entrepreneurs, sole proprietors, as well as I'm trying to think what the other distinction is. I'm sorry, I'm losing my thought process there. But anyway, this particular iteration of the PPP program is highly beneficial to those groups of individuals that is different from before. And so definitely want to make sure that people that may have applied in 2020 that did not have the best experience or did not get much, because of the latest changes through the Biden administration, where now they're looking at your gross numbers instead of your net profit. Some of the individuals may have attempted to apply earlier in 2021 when the PPP was first available, and may have been told by either their accountants or their tax preparers or someone else that they were not eligible because of the level of net profit, because that's what they were going off then. That has since changed as of March the 3rd. And so you need to go back to those individuals that were maybe assisting you with that process, because now they're gonna do the calculations off the gross. And that's gonna be a game changer for a lot of folks in terms of how much money is calculated. It has been a difficult process because this change comes after the program had already been rolled out. I think it started in December of last year for this round of PPP. And so a lot of the bank's portals are not properly updated yet. I know I attempted to apply through UVA Credit Union. One of the things that I did at least appreciate about UVA Credit Union is that they gave me the opportunity to cancel my application because it would have gone in under the old rules to wait for the new rules to kick in. So for me, I felt like that was a good partnership, or good a response from a partner to say, hey, here's an opportunity, and we want you to at least be able to make a choice about it versus just pushing the application through and then I just got under the old rules. Now, they still haven't updated their portal and they're not taking paper applications. So that's problematic. And I hope they hear this on today, because we need some update on that. And I understand it's a tricky proposition. However, United is accepting paper applications. I work with an individual, another entrepreneur with Truist. That was a horrible experience as well. And that's been a couple of weeks ago at this point, and have not heard anything back from Truist. And in talking with one of my colleagues through the SBDC, what I was told was that Truist left a lot of folks holding the bag last time. And entrepreneurs just never, ever got their applications processed. One of the things I will say that has probably the big takeaway is having relationships with small local banks. That's key. Diversify where your accounts are. You can have, if you want to keep a Bank of America because you can access that anywhere in the country, that's great, but you still need to have a relationship with a small local bank that you can go in and have a conversation with someone when things aren't going right.
I agree with that 100%. I've heard
Definitely, yep, agree
I've
with
heard
that.
some other struggles regarding Truist, which is the new merger between BB&T and SunTrust. There's other things that are falling through the cracks too, just as they try and navigate that whole combining two big companies. The customers are getting left behind.
Yolanda's point is on point, because it highlights the fact that you need to create relationships with banks. And the more personal relationships that you have with banks, the more they're willing to go that extra mile for you, especially in situations like this, because the system that we're trying to maneuver is not built for us. It wasn't intended for us. And now we're trying to make it fit for us. So please, that if anything, to take away from this, start making those relationships with banks. And as she said, large and small. Those local community banks are key, creating those relationships as entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I will point out Blue Ridge Bank is the only company listed on the New York Stock Exchange that is headquartered in Charlottesville, Virginia. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, we had nothing but good experience with Blue Ridge Bank, because a few people we know for even before, I guess, they were located in Charlottesville, I want to say. So it's really, I want to just also say this, the personal relationship is very critical, and they have worked, especially the first round, just to get the portal up was a disaster everywhere, and they have worked around the clock. So, and there's always a person, at least for us, and I think it's true for everybody, who you can contact at any time. And I also want to confirm Truist is a disaster. We have a little bit of investment. This was with BB&T, and we didn't get a statement in January at all, and now we got one, and all of a sudden money has moved with our approval into cash. You know, it's just be careful. That's all I can say. Just make sure you really go through all the statements carefully. So.
And I would caution everyone when they're talking about their experiences, say, this is my personal experience, or this is my opinion, because we don't want to get backlash from banks saying that we're bashing them. Just a cautionary remark.
Sure. Yes, I agree. So that's our experience. Thank you.
And that's a good point, Lisa, because most, if not all, the banks you all mentioned are chamber members, and we understand that each of your experiences is unique to you, and we understand that you're sharing this with us. That's partly what this meeting is for. So it's not, we're not here bashing the banks. We're sharing our experiences, but thanks for that reminder, Lisa.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed, Lisa. And we'll categorize it as constructive criticism from this point forward, because our partners need it.
Yeah.
Because our partners need that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's rich conversation around PPP. Is any other points, ideas, anything of importance around that we need to share before we move on to another question and just checking in on businesses? Anything else? I think we covered the most important components. I think Ms. Harrell shared some points that I had in the back of my head but didn't share.
Oh, just a couple
Sure.
more things in terms of eligibility. Who's eligible now that wasn't eligible before? Individuals that have ITINs were not eligible in the past, and they are eligible now, as well as if you had a felony conviction, as long as it's not around money, then you are eligible now, and that was something that also changed. So again, for people who may have applied before and thought, well, I'm not eligible for this at all. The Biden administration has done a great job of trying to be more inclusive in this next go around of who can gain access. There was that window of time where it was just open to very, very, very small organizations, 20 and under. That, of course, has since passed, but I think it's just good to point out that there was a realization. I know the Black Chamber of Commerce was really strong in pushing for that, to make sure that, that because 96% of Black owned businesses in this country are sole proprietorships. So that, we needed an opportunity, as well as other communities of color, to have a room to be able to get into the kind of the front of the line in the application process. So it's great that this extension has happened. Please reach out to your local bank partners. The SBDC also as advisors, we're there to help you. New Hill, as an organization, we're here to help you. Doesn't cost you anything to get the assistance. It's just, we want to make sure that those that need to take advantage, that are struggling, that they understand that there is a way to get some cash flowing back to the business, some much needed cash.
Yeah, and I just second that on SBDC. Just for the Latino community, the SBDC does have Spanish speakers that can assist with that, because I know that it can be, especially even when you speak English, like the jargon, the technical jargon can be difficult. I mean, the technical jargon is difficult for me, and I was born, my English is my first language, and it's difficult. So I know that can be a challenge. So they definitely, both SBDC/CIC, their host have Spanish speakers there that can assist with that.
Excellent.
And Q, I just wanted to put out there real quick. I don't know if you all went a little further into this, because I did get kicked off there for a minute, but just Blue Ridge Bank, because I just wanted to give a shout out to them, because they're the one bank that we have, well, at least I have heard a lot of positive comments about, of them being very supportive and helpful, holding the hands of a lot of small businesses, chamber members and non-chamber members. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Chris Scharnbeck over there and the team at Blue Ridge Bank.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for sharing that.
Quentin, can I share another thing? I put it in, I'm gonna release it in the chat, but it's also what's coming up, that our restaurant and hospitality community members need to be aware of is the Restaurant Act. That was also part of the latest stimulus package. It's about $26 billion that is going to be set aside to help kind of true up those businesses based off of their receipts or the revenue from 2019 versus 2020. So minusing out PPP if they receive that to help them kind of come up to wherever the shortfalls may lie for those that are still in business. That is going to be a grant opportunity that will be administered by the SBA. And it will probably start, they will probably start taking grant applications around the April-May timeframe. However, there's two things that you must have in order to participate. You must have a DUNS number and you must have a SAMS number. And so I put links into the chat that one link is to the Restaurant Act website. There's also a link in there to a YouTube video for creating a SAMS number. And what that will do is that the SAMS is the thing that's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of doing. But in order for you to apply, you must have this in place. So folks need to start working on that now. So that way, when the opportunity presents itself, you're ready to go. And you'll be able to take advantage of that opportunity when it comes.
And by the way, a DUNS number is a Dun and Bradstreet number. And the SAMS number is a system for award management. It's a governmental number as well. So these are things that businesses definitely need to look into. A DUNS number is like your credit report for your business. Alex?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I would echo what Yolanda said, that it's better to try to get those as soon as possible, because I don't have a SAMS, but I've gone through the process of DUNS, and sometimes it can take a good 2 weeks. I mean, it took me a good 2 weeks to hear back from them when I had first applied some time ago. So depending how busy they are, it may take a while. So you don't want to, it's not like you apply and then 24 hours later you get a number that pops up.
Thank you for sharing all that good information. That's the we are achieving the purpose of this particular meeting. Kay, I was wondering, did you have a question that you wanted to pose for the check-in for the business community, or for our attendees on checking in to see how folks are doing?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good to see you again. In particular, I wanted to just share a little tidbit of information in terms of where I've been working in the last few months, having accepted an invitation to participate in the Pathways and Pipeline Working Group at the University of Virginia. And one of the areas that I know there are and remain questions in terms of how businesses, individuals, how they contract or become a part of the UVA procurement system. And I'm interested to hear from anyone in this circle as to whether or not you have been able to participate in that room or in those dialogues, and your experiences in terms of navigating that process. If there's anybody here who can share or give some insight onto that. Wow, that says a lot. That says a lot.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, Kay.
Go ahead.
I know my personal experience in trying to work with new faculty and staff coming on and helping to find them residency. It's like, how do you get there? How do you get on the website? It's difficult. It's like the best kept secret. And if you have any insight to help us, that would be great.
Okay, no one else. It's interesting because while we're looking at accessibility in all ways and inclusion, part of the conversation that we as participants are engaged in is even how we support the work of this group, and the possibility of there being some type of stipend that would be available to us as work group participants. However, all of us will have to participate in procurement enrollment. And so no one has done it yet because most people are looking at it saying, this is daunting. I have done it in the past. I haven't done it recently, but I also believe that that's one of the reasons why, people of color, minority groups in particular, are not having the opportunity to bid or to receive these contracts. And so I want to figure out what or how we will navigate that discussion, since our group, in fact, is the convener of conversations among people who are business owners locally, who live in this university area and should be a part of the supplier conversation. So I'm definitely open from hearing from this group if there's particular questions while our group is in conversations. We just saw some interesting reports in terms of even number of people, forget procurement, who are employed, people of color, what that looks like. Things that have been hidden to me that I'm quite surprised to see on paper, the black and white. And so any feedback that I can get from this group about your experiences, your opportunities or lack thereof, I would be very open to receiving that. You all know how to contact us in particular. If there are personal or private conversations you'd like to have about that, we don't need this forum to do that, but I do have interest in continuing that dialogue. So I kind of wanted to lay that out there, Q. Very telling that no one here can even give us some feedback. So that's the one thing that I'm gonna lay on the table today. That's my gift to you.
Thank you, Kay. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Any comments, insights?
Yeah, I mean, I would put in there, Kay, and I know this not so much from my own experience, but from I've over the years I've talked to a lot of people in catering that have attempted to go through that process, and they pretty much always describe it as a chicken and an egg. In other words, like, you need to be doing business to get on all the platforms to do business. So if you're not already doing business, you can't get on. And so they tend to describe it that way. Like, once they've gotten in, like if they have found something as small as like a student group that started doing procurement with them, all of a sudden they start doing more business. But if they can't get that first foot in the door, then they just sit there inside of languish, because it doesn't matter how many vendor trainings they go to, they can't get their foot in the door. So that's how it's been described to me in the past.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, Kay, because I'm going to use this as part of the ongoing conversations that we're having as well. I currently sit on a work group for the local economy for UVA, the local economy work group, as well as a work group with the new director of supplier diversity. And what I'm very encouraged by that particular work group, both Yolanda and I sit on that group. But what I'm very encouraged by is they know that their system has not been working up to par. And so they are really creating a new strategic plan on how to allocate and spend dollars with local vendors in this community. And so that work is ongoing. They plan on coming out into the community and really doing the right thing with the leadership, because it takes leadership to have that incentive and that initiative to actually have people in purchasing positions and making purchasing decisions. So we're kind of trying to help them guide the thought process and the strategic planning to actually make that happen. One of the most important things that we found, I'm going to probably end up saying this again before we close out, is that what's going to be important for our local businesses, our local minority businesses, is to get SWAM certified, in the vein of what we were just mentioning earlier about SAM and getting a SAM's number and a DUNS number. Our local business community is really going to need to get SWAM certified in order to be in a position once we keep on knocking and kicking and elbowing and kick these doors open, these doors of opportunity open, our minority business community has to be prepared for when those doors are open, because if the doors open and you're not prepared, then that can actually cause stress. So use our local partners, use SBDC, use CIC, use the city's Go programs. We have magnificent resources that are here to help set you up for success in the near future. Any other questions? We're coming up on 1 o'clock, and there's other things that I would like to share, but is there any other question, Alex, that you think that we need to get out onto the table before I give some more announcements that's in this vein of businesses getting prepared?
Well, I'd just like to pop in, as I noticed there's a comment by Frank on similar to purchasing decisions, hiring decisions. So I wanted to put out there just for Frank and for anyone else, so what are you seeing? Because I know one of the things that is certainly affecting us is the fact that, unemployment still remains high. So we've still got hiring issues. And I know I've been contacted by some people that, they're still looking for work. So just as small business owners, as people in the community, what are you seeing out there in terms of the ability to hire, the hiring that's going on, any challenges that are out there in terms of workforce?
Yeah, I mean, we've got more employers with more jobs than ever, at least through our Network to Work program, which is great. But we have to face the fact that their hiring processes, and I say they in general, can be cumbersome. And what we're trying to do, sort of like Kay and Quentin are saying, they're cumbersome processes that have been embedded in generations, whether it's at the university or in our communities, that we're trying to change. And 60% of our job seekers are minorities, 40% are single parents. They're coming through Network to Work, and we want to get them employed, but just the general lack of moving somebody along is really difficult. Holly's got a great team that works with us over at the Downtown Job Center. 3 months ago, one of her people in our program helped this guy get through Network to Work, train him. He applied for a job. Don't take this the wrong way, Holly, Kay, at the city in a labor trade job 3 months ago. Hasn't heard a word yet. Not a no, not a yes, nothing. Formerly incarcerated, African-American, great guy, ready to rock and roll with a job. Why? Why does it take so long? And it's not, I'm not saying that, it's just embedded in those processes. Finally, UVA recognized that, and the new CEO contacted Ridge 2 months ago and said, we're working with you guys exclusively. You know the people, you get the people prepared, you help them break their barriers. We're going to hire them directly from Network to Work. That's huge. That's huge. We're in the process of that, but it's not every organization that's doing that.
So that's a perfect segue. That's a perfect alley-oop.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, I'm just going to pass it on to Holly.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I just was gonna.
Yeah, that was an alley-oop. A funny kind of alley-oop, but alley-oop all the same.
So I would just echo those sentiments. And so in terms of the city of Charlottesville, we have come a long way in terms of being a second chance city, banning the box, making sure that people have access to opportunities. And most of that has been through the Go training program. So we'll train people and then position them for employment with entry-level positions in the job that are, oftentimes difficult to find individuals. The individual that Frank is talking about is one that I've actually been behind the scenes trying to push with all my internal contacts. So if that's not enough, I'm not quite sure what it's going to take.
It just blows me away, Holly. I mean,
Yeah.
You, me, and others that have been involved in this type of work for years, and it's like, it's not that difficult. He's a great guy.
Well, the issue is not about him. They haven't hired anybody, and there's multiple positions. So this really, it's all, I think it also illustrates, certain institutions' ability to be flexible and
Yeah.
nimble given the change in the, situation that we're currently under. So,
Yeah, good
so we
point.
are working on that one, but, I've communicated, with that individual and let them know, I know it's not going to make you feel any better, but no one else has heard anything either. So, but as far as UVA is concerned, and Kay, I was in the meeting that Kay mentioned as well. We saw some interesting data. There seems to be an interest in wanting to work with us to put people to work, but we'll see how that actually pans out given the experience that we've had in the past with trying to place people with UVA. So I'm not sure, but we do see a lot of people who are unemployed. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of motivation right now with some individuals to become employed because there are so many resources out there. So we have people, are getting stimulus checks, they're getting assistance with United Way, housing relief. And so there's just not that incentive to actually go out and get employment at this time. But we do have some people who are actively searching and out there looking that we're trying to place. And employers are starting to hire again. We see that, as Frank mentioned, we have employers contacting us all the time, but it's an interesting situation we're in, unfortunately.
Thank you, Holly. I appreciate you sharing as well. Definitely wanted to get you in as far as at the city level, and all the work that you've been doing has been outstanding. One thing I wanted to share with the group for future reference, as we come up on the 1 o'clock hour, I'm putting a link in here as well. But something for our minority business community to be aware of is this new legislation that's coming out of Richmond with Governor Northam and his office. They did a new disparity study. They decided to do one in 2019. It was completed. I think it was conducted in 2020. And so with the results of it, they've determined that of the 42% allocation that they were setting aside for SWAM businesses in the state of Virginia, they are going to take 21%, 20 or 23% out of that 42 to set aside for women and minority-owned businesses, and that's going to be significant because they realized within the disparity study is that there were only about 13.4% of all state contracts were awarded to women and minority-owned businesses. So they're trying to be even more intentional about making sure that money is being spent with women and minority-owned businesses, without the small being in that category, which pretty much has been overshadowing minority businesses and women businesses over the years, which also just leads back to the important component of letting our minority business community know that we need to get SWAM certified. And currently right now, that's not a short and quick process, but it's something we have community supports that will help to help you get there. We have the city of Charlottesville with Holly and her department. We have Small Business Development Center, the Minority Business Alliance. We plan to have a link on our site on the instructions on how to get that done. So now's the time to act. Act now, act soon. What's anything else? And that legislation is also going to help guide the University of Virginia and how they are doing their procurement as well. So it's still overcast. We got storms, but I see the sunshine coming down the line. And I hope that our minority business community can see it along with us. Now's the time to get prepared. Better time to get prepared within the storm so that you can actually enjoy the sun when it comes. So any other things that we need to share before closing out?
I have one thing that I'd like to say. to all the leaders who sit on this board and who sit on other boards, my advice is when you sit on these boards, to encourage a deep dive into the company that you're working with, policies and actual practices. Look at their policy on how they hire individuals and help to remove any unintentional barriers to bring or provide opportunities for those who don't currently sit at the table. That's such a powerful thing that you can do, and it's very specific. So when you sit down and have these conversations, do that deep dive. It may require a little more time, but it is well worth it, because a lot of times when people say that we don't have proper representation, it's embedded in the systems, and the systems are reflective of the policies and actual practices that those companies carry out. That is what I have found in doing this work. So please do the deep dive.
I echo that, Lisa. And what I've found is that when we actually do that deep dive, people start to feel uncomfortable, and they might not want us at the table anymore, but we need to be persistent about that. I've seen that internally within the organization, externally with companies that I've worked with that have talked the talk about wanting to be more diverse. And at the end of the day, I don't think they have any clue what that means. And they're not ready for it. So, but I completely echo that, and I appreciate you saying it.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Let me echo by saying there are many blind spots that exist in some of the systemic conversation. I think what I loved best about the meeting we were on, Holly, we had one participant that when he saw the stats, his response was, "I'm pissed." You should have seen their faces. They were sitting there, they got quiet. And there was a lot of revelation on their behalf. What they thought was good and interesting data that they provided in a white paper was obscene to some of the participants at the table who were representative of the group. And how wonderful he could be that transparent and be himself and say that, because now this has widened the conversation. It is wide open. And the group has realized that they must go back and rethink their definition of disadvantage. That's the deep dive that Lisa's talking about. That's the crazy stuff we may have to do to get our foot in some of these doors. But and I know it takes a lot of backbone to do that. You have to pick and choose how many groups you're going to sit on. But I want to sit in that group where we can do that. Just sock them right there in the eye and say, "Did you see that?"
None of this
Yeah.
surface level stuff,
No, it's deep.
I mean, it looks okay that you have like a fairly significant percentage of individuals who are minorities working for your organization. But if all those people are working entry level positions with no opportunity for upward mobility, then what does that number really reflect? And if you only see a number and don't dig deeper down, you're always going to get that same result.
Absolutely.
I truly believe that we can collectively kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Not an actual 44. Let me clarify, since we're still live on Facebook and still recording. but representative of what we can truly do by not pulling punches, and to the point that Kay mentioned about how we are spread out and different organizations trying to sit down at different tables. We have to choose the tables that we recognize on making systems change, to Lisa Herndon's point. Our work needs to be towards systems change and not just sharing our opinion and we've done enough of that. So I'm really encouraged. Many of the people that are on this call, in this particular meeting, some of the people that are doing some of the heavy lifting and the hard work. Encourage you all to continue. We look at all you all. The Minority Business Alliance looks at you all as community partners, or you're members of this organization. And just know that myself, Kay Monroe, Alex Erpy, Andrea Copeland, we are fighting tooth and nail to find those value-added initiatives, organizations, opportunities to provide to the minority business community so that we can really, really play a part in community wealth building and expanding these opportunities for Black and brown people in this community. So is there anything else that anyone like to add before we close out?
You're muted,
Andrea?
darling.
I'd like to just add, well, I just want to say a big thank you on behalf of the Chamber and members of the Minority Business Alliance and Chamber members, just to thank Quentin, Alex, and Kay. I know Alex had to get off, for their leadership of the Minority Business Alliance. I mean, aside, beyond this meeting, they meet at other times, making sure we put together informative educational meetings to help our minority business community. And so we thank our member volunteers, because we can't do a lot of what we do without our member volunteers. And to our Chamber members, we thank you all for your
Yes, very
support of the
much.
Alliance and the Chamber. Many of you could have easily said in 2020 and even 2021, I can't renew this year, but you came back and you continue to support us, and we appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
recognizing Ms. Harrell as one of our Chamber board members.
Thank you,
and Melvin
Yolanda.
Burris.
Yes,
Melvin Burris. We
Melvin,
have two
thank you.
Chamber board members with us today. So thank you all.
Hey,
That's it. I appreciate everyone. Thank you for your time, commitment, support, transparency.